Well, let's go into another thing I just thought we could talk about in the next few minutes. We saw the ADC Secretariat torched recently. There was an attempt where passers-by say there was no fire incident, as it were, but the entire building was ravished. Let's talk briefly about the challenge of electoral violence, because no meaningful development can take place in an atmosphere devoid of peace. That's one. And then two, there are concerns about equitable distribution of position, equitable distribution of representation. In some senatorial districts, in some federal constituencies, this is a major talking point in terms of the fact that you find a situation where one section of a district or a constituency keep having representation, and the others are in the doldrum, like they don't form part of that district or constituency. What do you make of? Let me begin with you on that, Chris.
Well, I don't know if you said there was no evidence of fire in the ADC Secretariat. The hoodlums who came there with a 10 liters PMS jerrycan. It's with the DSS. They came down to wreck down and burn down the building. But even the elements of nature resisted them. Apart from the Edo people who now came, the elements of the building refused to burn. They shattered our windows, lit a mop, threw it into the room, and the mop burnt and remained there and refused to burn any other thing. Electoral violence is a reality in our electoral system in Nigeria. It didn't used to be so in Edo. We're proud of it. Until we had an incendiary state chairman in the person of Jared Tenebe, who goes to the public, and there's a viral video of his, when his governor led the way to threaten Peter Obi, when Peter Obi was to visit Edo State. And Jared Tenebe, who is the state chairman, when people saw him on set, they were happy that he was coming to douse the threat of the governor. That is, those who didn't know him. As usual, he brought his own PMS and added to the threat of the governor by finishing threatening Peter Obi and stating on public television that they hate Peter Obi. That it is the hatred they have for Peter Obi is the reason why they say Peter Obi should not come. I have the video on public television. Then when he had finished with Peter Obi, he now turned to the ADC and said, as far as Jared was concerned, he does not recognize the ADC, and by extension, the APC does not recognize the ADC. That the only party they know is the PDP, because they thought that they have, the PDP in the stranglehold. And now this new opposition that is coming up, which is growing, he said he didn't recognize it. And then he went for that to say he will smoke the ADC out of town. And that anybody who dares to identify with the ADC will leave Edo State for them. And you are seeing a threat being carried out. So the DSS should invite Jared to come and explain what he means.
Yeah, but I think we'll leave it at that level for investigations to be carried out.
Continue.
Yes,
so there was vandalization.
And then we'll try and play that on next call, because those people you are mentioning there, they're not here to represent, to respond to the issues.
They are there in the international space.
Let's leave it there in the international space.
Now,
yes, Chris.
That's a factor. Another factor you mentioned is the factor, take Edo North for instance. Edo North has had a very unequitable, unequal distribution of political office. Before 2007, let me just give you the history. From 1960, when we had independence, Edo North has had 9 senatorial representation. Edo North is made up of 6 local government areas. 3 of the local government areas is Sesako. The other 3 is 2 Onwa and 1 Akoko Edo. The 2 Onwa has 11 wards each. That is 22 wards. And Akoko Edo, that 10 wards, that's 32 wards. So they are half of the 3 tripod arm that make up Edo North. Now we have had 9 representation. Only 2 came from the other half. That is, 1 from one that has 22 wards, and for only 4 years, 1 tenure. And 1 from Akoko Edo that has 10 wards, and for only 4 years. The other 7 representation And most of them completing their tenures all came from the ASACO end. Now, by conjunction of events, that was existing. And then discussions and engagements was going on between the Onwa and Akoko-Edo and ASACO over how to redress this imbalance and fill the space. That discussion was going on when Adams Oshomole was sworn in 2007 as governor. And the whole of Edo North erupted in joy, thinking that now that he has executive powers and influence, especially as he came in from a ruling party at the federal level, that Adams Oshomole was going to, if he couldn't influence the senatorial, because people have to choose, he would make up by giving juicy appointments to people from Onwa and ASACO, so as to be able to begin to see, for Onwa and ASACO to begin to have that sense of inclusion and a filling up of the balance. But Adams Oshomole did not only exacerbate the inequalities, he was intentional and deliberate about it. And I'll give you examples. When Godwin Obaseki became governor and he needed to choose a deputy governor, Philip Shaibu was already elected in ASACO Federal Constituency and was in Abuja performing his duty. You had Onwa there, you had Akoko-Edo with eminently qualified people, where Oshomole could have taken a deputy from. Could you have taken Shedrack or any of them to be deputy?
I was there.
He left. I was there. He left Onwa, he left Akoko-Edo. He pulled Philip away from his seat and then replaced Philip, because if you pull Philip away from the ASACO Federal Constituency seat, it's another ASACO that will replace them.
Okay.
And then he brought Philip here to come and fill that position. Onwa shouted himself hoarse. We were still in that situation, in that very situation, when a ministerial seat was open, a ministerial position was open for Edo North Senatorial District. He brought in Clement Agba. Now, you would think that he would not take that to Onwa and Akoko-Edo. He didn't do that. Another ministerial seat position was vacant. He brought in Abubakar Momo. Ecological Fund chairmanship became vacant. He brought in Agbamere.
So I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
How come all of these issues are taking the front burner now? Maybe because 2027 is just around the corner. These seeming imbalances, they've been there for these years, no reactions, no agitation, nothing whatsoever. How come?
Okay, now I'll give you...
Just give me one straight answer.
No, two reasons.
Yes.
There are two reasons. First reason, as you said, we are approaching another electoral section.
Okay.
And then we saw some stooges come out on TV to say that they are going to support Adams Oshomole again to continue this mafians
For a second term.
for a second term.
Yeah, but it's his right.
It's his right.
Yeah, it's his
now,
right.
we are now saying
Yes.
they are not speaking for us. This is our own agenda and our right. Now, just when we are at the heat of that, we saw that a senator that we are asking to come and give us accountability of infrastructural development. For instance, in Onwa, Oshomole cannot show you half projects.
No, let's not go personal.
No,
Because those are subjective.
It's the senator
No, they are subjective.
Subjective that there's no constitutional project.
No, they are subjective. They are subjective.
Sonny, hold
They are
on.
subjective. Let's stay on course. Anchor that point you wanted to make.
He is the senator representing Edo North. You see, I can't even blame you because you are not thinking that Edo North is a circle. That's why you don't know that it concerns me from Onwa. He's representing Edo North, which includes Onwa. He has no single constituency projects in Onwa that he can point to.
But his tenure has not elapsed yet.
He has 1 year to go.
So the guy you waited that 1 year to allow before you see.
No, you will
now
ask
make that assessment.
You will ask me again, why are you now crying after he has gone? Why did you come here to cry when you're still there? So that's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
So another election cycle is coming. We want the people to know, our people to know, who already know, that Adams Oshomole has not represented Onwa and Akoko.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Because this is not a platform for that sort of campaign. But Prof, let me get your take on this. Yeah, these seeming agitations in the build-up to 2027.
Well, Duke is very funny because it appears that the average Nigerian politician has not learned his lessons. If a party at the center, APC, believes that they are popular, for God's sake, there's no need of forcing other political parties to belong to the center. Because if you say you are popular, then you are popular. Then you should give the dividends of democracy to the people, so that the people will appreciate you, and in the process vote for you. In fact, that's the beauty of democracy.
Yeah, but the APC has not claimed responsibility for what has happened. And to the best of our knowledge, the security agents are still carrying out their investigation to unravel that. Until that happens, we can't. Yes.
But you heard what the chairman of APC Edo State said.
Yes.
He said there's nothing like ADC in Edo State.
Okay.
So I would have expected that a gentleman of his type, should be diplomatic about the words that comes out of his mouth.
Okay.
If diplomacy means, even if you are the one who committed that offense, or your boys committed that offense, we feel very sad, it's not right, this is democracy, parties ought to have their opportunity to do what they want to do because it's democracy, it's the duty of democracy. But he said hey, is there anything like ADC in Edo State? In fact, ADC is made up of gays and all that. I don't think he was personalizing and making a mockery of the whole thing. So he didn't try at all. We expected him to condemn it, in totality, and say no, it is not right. Even though his boys may be involved. I'm not saying his boys are involved.
Okay.
So that is the point. So if you look at even the president they are imitating, your mandate which has stand. You discover that there are people, critics, who have criticized Tinubu, and say he's not performing and all that, called him all sorts of names. But to some extent, he still brings these people to his cabinet. We are aware of that. He still brings these people to his cabinet and give them position, power and so on. So democracy is competition. Democracy is not when an individual criticizes the government, automatically he becomes an enemy of the government. And I think that is what APC is running in Edo State. The moment there's criticism or belongs to the opposition party, automatically it's an enemy. It does not go like that. It does not encourage democracy. And that is why people, they should try and imitate the president who, after criticism, still bring some of those critics.
All right, let's take a break for our news headlines, and then we'll be back to talk more on the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. Please stay. Thanks again for staying with us on the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. The attack on the ADC Secretariat in this state is still a major talking point, and not a single statement seems to have come from the authorities in charge. Maybe because they were pretty busy with some of the retreats and ways and means to have a better structure of governance, development, and what have you in Edo State, which of course is being hailed by a certain categories of people as far as the governance and development of Edo State is concerned. But let me come to Shedrack. I know you don't share in these perspectives.
For me, I see this whole thing as an act of desperation, because the All Progressive Congress have put themselves on a critical position. Every single other day, you hear Mondo Pueblo come out in public domain to say it's going to be giving 2.5 million votes to the president. Later, I changed it to 3.5, later 3.9 million. And I've done my investigation. I got to discover that he actually meant to say 250,000 votes. He has problem with numbers. He now changed it to.
So I don't agree with you because you need to look at that.
No, okay, let me tell you. The total number of registered voters in Edo State is 2.1 million.
What's the population?
Since 1999,
what's the population of Edo State?
5 million.
Okay.
Since 1999, and I dare say my grandfather and my late father who died, their names were captured because those were people who have voted in Nigeria since 1999 up to date. About 2.1 million. Those who are alive are roughly by 1 million. Those who come out to vote are between 500,000 to 600,000. So most of the people are calculated, they need to give half of the active voters to Tinubu, which is 250,000. So he made a mistake to say 2.5 million. He does not mean.
It's your personal opinion.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yes. Because
the actual votes that Bola Ahmed Tinubu can get in those days is no more than 150,000. Because even when Mondo Pueblo was senator of Edo State, representing his people, in the Senate, he was rejected by the Esa people. He lost his senatorial district. Same with his deputy governor, who was president of Yard. They both lost. So when Bola Ahmed Tinubu now placed hope on a man who lost, who could not save himself. Some people have said Mondo Pueblo will end up rigging the election. I asked, can Mondo Pueblo rig? We know I won the first election. The first election was one that free and credible election because nobody wanted to vote for Senator Clifford Odia because of his 13 ambition. His second year was contesting governorship. He was put. Senate President, 6 governors was here, led by Opus Odima. The Senate President Akpabo was here, Wike was here. They were the one who helped him rig. He didn't know how to rig. He sat down there, they just rigged him into the office. And yet, Bola Ahmed Tinubu also know a different mandate. You now say you want to rely on Mode Okpebholo to rig for him or perhaps to get him vote. Where will he get the votes from? When Godwin Obaseki was governor, when Adam Saleh Oshome was governor, none of them could deliver their state for their presidential leader. And these two people were far more influential than Mode Okpebholo. If Bob Tinubu gets 150,000 votes, it's because people like Adam Saleh Oshome and this were glad to mobilize the vote. Mode Okpebholo does not have the capacity to mobilize vote to the president. And all of those gimmicks is coming and say, bet me, if I lose, if Tinubu lose, I will decide. It's an attempt to make Tinubu feel that, oh, this man has a stake. He has no stake. If Bola Ahmed Tinubu loses today, but Tinubu, Mode Okpebholo will just relax a while. After the new president, we start telling them that Bola Tinubu never did anything for us. We begin to speak in both sides, not to score in favor from the new president. So the calculation is clear. These people do not have the capacity, so they are acting in desperation. ADC that is just a few days old, the ADC Secretariat is even barely a month. We're just trying to move in. But after that, even as they destroyed the Secretariat, we see two major persons. The former special advisor to the governor of police commander for Omo Federal Constituency, Abu Abdullah. He also decamped that very day. Another strong man from Omo, they also decamped that very day. The party is swelling up by the beats and pulse. I hear the mark calls around. You know, I listen to what the other guy said. You know, that guy, you know, sometimes he's red, sometimes he's yellow, sometimes he's white. The multicolored Jared, he comes out with different color every single time. He comes out to speak. You know, that one yammers incoherently from every side of the mouth, talks recklessly, and the other time he said he was going to cut his hand and cut his head to give votes to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. See, Bola Ahmed should don't as for the father, we know you have not done well. But you see, the question is that when you lose and you are crying in Aso Rock and you are lamenting, that guy will use that same hand and use that same head to carry one sensitive material like Adams Osho, that Amolosho did with that his private jet, and be enjoying his life. Thinking that when you are crying and lamenting, those people will be enjoying themselves. So if Bola Ahmed Tinubu knows what's good for him, if he should ensure that he puts his resources in other states and ignore those states, because if he leaves those states, he will be crying for resources and for votes. So he should focus elsewhere. Edo State is just some states that are too cosmopolitan, that cannot be bullied to the submission. There are states like Kano and Edo. They will be getting caught fire more in Edo State even before it did in any southeast states. So the idea that they will not think they can bully people to submission, nobody will not talk, then they will not come out, they will not make some derogatory moves, they will not scare people to the record, they have gathered some agbos and clouds. See, in general election, the people is mistaking state election.
Impact of governance is going to be a major factor in all of this conversation.
Yes.
Impact of
governance.
And
the impact of governance is clear, because Bola Ahmed Tinubu has failed woefully.
No, we're talking about the state government. We have seen some of the engagement, town hall meetings, and all of those, you know, retreats being carried out to galvanize support and restructure of governance.
It was that town meeting they did in Udomi for 3 days. That's where they discarded that they will come and burn and put fire in the ADC Secretariat.
Were you there?
No, that's after they closed from there. They don't run here and they attack the Secretariat.
Let's not make insinuations.
The truth is, when you talk about Mode Okpebholo's deliverance, I'm beginning to wonder what exactly has he done. Just 2 days ago, 3 days ago, they kidnapped 2 boys from Ekunye, close to Oluku. When I was coming here, they said, cross my eyes, so you are taking a risk for Nigeria. Okay? And yet, we saw that the level of kidnapping, security, the man keeps using vehicles to fight security. He bought Okada 300. Later, he bought to buy 150 Okada. They're not using Okada and charms to fight the security. And when he gets very tired, he go and buy some Chinese vehicles, buy 60 lots, buy 30 Prado. So they don't have over 10 bulldozers. Nothing seems to be working. The man does not understand what it means international best practices and the use of technology to combat crime. When you talk about the flyover, that flyover was built when the government he did has not come to say this is how much those flyover is worth. And yet we have to.
But have you made any effort to go to the Ministry of Works?
I have asked. The only thing I could get was that during that period that we borrowed 100 billion. That thing is never done by Square Resources. It was done on loan. That flyover is done by the future of those people's money. And that flyover does not have any return on investment. Okay. It's just there.
All right. Let me take let me change the focus of our conversation now.